Are you eating healthy, exercising regularly, maybe even trying intermittent fasting, but still struggling with stubborn fat, low energy, brain fog, or feeling older than you should? Because if that sounds familiar, here's what's really going on inside your body. Your body may be stuck in survival mode instead of repair mode. And this is one of the biggest misunderstandings in modern health. Most people think fat loss and anti-aging are just about eating less and moving more. But the truth is, your body is constantly making a decision behind the scenes. Should it store energy or regenerate itself? And that decision is controlled by powerful biological systems involving insulin, inflammation, stem cells, mitochondria, and metabolic flexibility. Now, when people hear the term stem cells, they often think of advanced medical treatments or expensive clinics. But your body already contains powerful regenerative stem cells naturally. These cells help repair tissues, support muscle recovery, maintain your immune system, protect your brain, and even influence how well you age. The real question is, what activates them? And surprisingly, some of the strongest signals are not found in medications. They're found in metabolic stress. Things like fasting, sleep, movement, temperature exposure, nutrient timing, and specific foods can trigger your body to switch from a growth and storage state into a repair and renewal state. What the research shows is that even short periods of controlled fasting may increase regenerative signaling and improve metabolic function. Recent studies on intermittent fasting have shown increases in circulating progenitor stem cells and improvements in cellular repair pathways linked to autophagy and metabolic health. But let me make something very clear. This is not about starving yourself. This is not about extreme dieting, and this is definitely not about chasing quick fixes. This is about understanding how the body was biologically designed to heal. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body is like a house that never stops accumulating clutter. If workers are constantly bringing in new furniture, boxes, and supplies every hour of the day, the cleaning crew never gets a chance to come in and repair anything. That's exactly what happens metabolically. When we constantly eat, constantly spike insulin, constantly snack, and never give the body a recovery window, the repair systems stay turned off. And over time, that contributes to stubborn belly fat, inflammation, fatigue, poor metabolic flexibility, accelerated aging, and reduced cellular repair. In today's video, we're going to break down the science-backed strategies that may help your body shift back into regeneration mode naturally. We'll talk about why fasting changes stem cell signaling, how stubborn fat blocks metabolic repair, the role of insulin and inflammation, foods that support cellular regeneration, why sleep and circadian rhythm matter more than most people realize, and a simple one-day protocol that can help reset your metabolism safely and naturally. And if this kind of science-based health content is helpful to you, consider subscribing, because every week we break down complex physiology into practical tools you can actually use in real life. Because the goal here isn't perfection. The goal is giving your body the environment it needs to heal itself. Most people think stubborn fat is simply stored calories. But biologically, stubborn fat behaves more like an active hormonal organ. And this changes everything about how we understand metabolism, aging, and regeneration. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Fat tissue, especially visceral fat around the abdomen, is not inactive. It constantly communicates with your brain, liver, immune system, and hormones through inflammatory chemical signals called cytokines. Now, in small amounts, inflammation is not bad. It's actually part of healing. But chronic low-grade inflammation is different. That's when the body stays stuck in a constant stress response. And when that happens, stem cell repair slows down dramatically. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body is like a city. Stem cells are the repair workers fixing roads, buildings, and electrical systems. But inflammation is like constant emergency alarms going off everywhere at once. Eventually, the repair crews can't focus on rebuilding because they're always responding to emergencies. That's what happens metabolically when visceral fat increases. Research has shown that excess abdominal fat produces inflammatory compounds such as TNF-alpha and IL-6, which are associated with insulin resistance, mitochondrial dysfunction, and impaired regenerative signaling. Chronic inflammation also accelerates biological aging and damages blood vessels over time. And this is why many people feel trapped. They eat less, they exercise harder, but the body still resists fat loss. Because the real issue is not simply calories. It's metabolic signaling. When insulin remains elevated for long periods, usually from constant snacking, ultra-processed foods, sugary drinks, poor sleep, and chronic stress, the body receives a very specific message. Store energy. Do not access fat reserves. And insulin is incredibly powerful. Think of insulin like a storage hormone with a lock and key mechanism. When insulin stays high, the fat-burning door stays locked. Even if you're eating healthy foods sometimes, frequent insulin spikes can keep the body metabolically inflexible. This is why some people feel hungry every 2 or 3 hours. Their body loses the ability to efficiently switch between burning sugar and burning stored fat. And over time, this creates what I call an energy paradox. The body stores excess fuel, while the cells themselves experience low energy. That's when fatigue, cravings, brain fog, and stubborn weight gain start appearing together. Now here's the encouraging part. Your body is incredibly adaptive. When insulin levels begin stabilizing, inflammation often decreases, mitochondrial function improves, and regenerative pathways become more active again. And one of the fastest ways to start improving this process is not extreme exercise. It's creating periods where insulin can naturally fall. This is one reason time-restricted eating has gained so much scientific attention. When people reduce constant eating and allow a fasting window, even something as simple as 12 to 14 hours overnight, the body often begins improving metabolic flexibility, not because of magic, but because the body finally has access to stored energy again. What the research shows is that intermittent fasting may improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammatory markers, and stimulate cellular repair pathways connected to longevity and stem cell activity. And importantly, this does not mean you need to suffer. In fact, many people make fasting much harder than necessary because they ignore food quality during eating periods. If your meals are built around processed carbohydrates and low protein, blood sugar swings become more intense. Instead, focus on meals that stabilize metabolic signaling. High-quality protein, fiber-rich vegetables, healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, nuts, and seeds, polyphenol-rich foods like berries, green tea, and dark-colored vegetables. These foods help reduce oxidative stress while supporting satiety hormones naturally. And hydration matters too. Many people mistake electrolyte imbalance and dehydration for hunger. Sometimes the body is not asking for calories. It's asking for minerals, water, and recovery. One practical tool I often recommend is a simple post-meal walk. Even 10 minutes of walking after meals can significantly improve glucose handling by helping muscles absorb circulating sugar more efficiently. Remember, muscle tissue acts like a metabolic sponge. The more metabolically active your muscles become, the more stable your blood sugar regulation becomes over time. And this matters because stable blood sugar creates a biological environment where repair systems can function more effectively. This is why stubborn fat loss is never just cosmetic. It's deeply connected to inflammation, aging, energy production, and long-term health. And once you understand that, you stop punishing the body and start working with biology instead of against it. If this is helping you understand your metabolism differently, consider subscribing, because these are the kinds of root cause strategies we explore regularly to help people regain energy, improve longevity, and restore metabolic health naturally. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful biological switches for regeneration and fat burning. Fasting. And no, not starvation. Not extreme dieting. Not punishing yourself by avoiding food for days. What we're really talking about is giving the body a temporary break from digestion so it can redirect energy toward repair. Because here's what most people never realize. Your body cannot fully focus on growth, storage, digestion, and deep cellular cleanup at the exact same time. These systems compete for energy. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every time you eat, especially foods that raise insulin significantly, your body shifts into a fed state. In this state, the body prioritizes digestion, nutrient absorption, and energy storage. That's normal. But the problem in modern life is that many people never leave the fed state. Coffee with sugar early morning, snacks throughout the day, late night eating, constant grazing. So metabolically, the body receives continuous signals that food is always incoming. And when that happens, one of the body's most important repair systems stays suppressed. That system is called autophagy. Autophagy, cellular cleanup and repair text, autophagy, right arrow, a text, cellular cleanup and repair, autophagy, cellular cleanup and repair. Autophagy is essentially the body's internal recycling program. Damaged proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, inflammatory debris. The body begins identifying and removing these components more efficiently during fasting periods. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your house has a cleaning crew that only comes at night after everyone stops making messes. But if people keep cooking, spilling things, bringing in boxes, and leaving lights on 24 hours a day, the cleaning crew never gets access to the house. That's what constant eating does metabolically. The body never fully transitions into repair mode. Now, this becomes incredibly important for stem cells and regeneration. Research over the last decade has shown that fasting may help stimulate stem cell renewal pathways, improve mitochondrial efficiency, reduce oxidative stress, and activate longevity-associated mechanisms involving AMPK and sirtuins. One influential area of research from the University of Southern California showed that prolonged fasting cycles may help stimulate hematopoietic stem cell regeneration and immune system renewal in certain conditions. But even shorter fasting windows appear metabolically beneficial for many people. And this is where people often overcomplicate things. You do not need perfection. You need consistency. For many individuals, a simple 12 to 16-hour overnight fasting window can already create meaningful metabolic improvements. For example, finish dinner around 7 p.m. Avoid late-night snacking. Hydrate well. Delay breakfast until 9 or 10 a.m. That single change may help. Lower insulin exposure. Improve fat mobilization, reduce inflammation, enhance metabolic flexibility, support cellular cleanup pathways, and importantly, fasting works best when paired with nutrient-dense eating, not junk food during eating windows. Because fasting is not permission to binge. Think of fasting like opening the door to repair, but nutrition provides the building materials. Now, one mistake people make is pushing fasting too aggressively too quickly. If stress hormones are already elevated, extreme fasting can backfire. Especially in people with poor sleep, high cortisol, blood sugar instability, excessive caffeine intake, chronic undereating. In these situations, the body may interpret aggressive fasting as a threat instead of a healing signal. This is why context matters. Metabolic health is about balance, not punishment, not extremes. Another important factor is protein timing. When you do eat, prioritize sufficient protein because amino acids help preserve lean muscle tissue during fat loss. And muscle is incredibly important for longevity. Muscle improves insulin sensitivity, glucose disposal, mitochondrial health, and metabolic resilience as we age. This is one reason resistance training combined with fasting often produces stronger metabolic benefits than fasting alone. Now, here's something fascinating. During fasting states, the body also increases production of human growth hormone in many individuals. HGH, fat-burning pasin, tissue repair japero, HGH, neurite arrow japero, fat-burning plus, upero tissue, repair HGH, fat-burning batch tissue repair. Growth hormone helps preserve muscle while encouraging fat mobilization during calorie restriction or fasting periods. Again, this reflects intelligent biology. The body is designed to adapt. The key is creating the right signals. And sometimes the most powerful signal is simply allowing the body a window of rest from constant intake. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing, because understanding these mechanisms gives you far more control over your energy, body composition, and long-term health than most people realize. Because when you understand the biology, you stop chasing random trends and start activating the systems your body already uses to heal itself naturally. Now let's talk about something that almost nobody explains correctly in the health world. Why some foods activate regeneration, while others silently keep the body trapped in fat storage mode. Because calories alone do not tell the full story. 2 meals can contain the exact same number of calories, but create completely different hormonal and metabolic responses inside the body. And this is where nutritional quality becomes incredibly important. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every bite of food sends instructions. Some foods tell the body, store fat, increase inflammation, stay hungry. Other foods signal, stabilize blood sugar, repair tissue, support mitochondria, reduce oxidative stress. Your biology is constantly listening. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your metabolism is like a campfire. Highly processed foods, sugary drinks, refined carbohydrates, industrial oils are like throwing paper into the fire. You get a huge burst of flames quickly, but it burns out fast and leaves instability behind. But whole foods rich in protein, fiber, healthy fats, and phytonutrients are more like slow-burning hardwood. Stable energy, longer fuel, less smoke, better efficiency. And this matters because blood sugar instability creates repeated insulin spikes. And repeated insulin spikes make fat burning harder while increasing inflammation over time. Now, one of the most powerful ways to improve metabolic signaling is by prioritizing protein early in the day. Protein increases satiety hormones, stabilizes blood sugar, and helps preserve lean muscle tissue during fat loss. And muscle is one of the greatest predictors of healthy aging. In fact, skeletal muscle acts almost like a metabolic engine for the body. The more metabolically healthy muscle tissue you maintain, the better your body becomes at handling glucose and burning energy efficiently. This is why many people feel dramatically better when they start their day with eggs, Greek yogurt, fish, protein smoothies, nuts and seeds, high-quality protein sources, instead of sugary cereals, pastries, sweet coffee drinks, refined breads, because breakfast is not just breakfast. It's a hormonal instruction set for the rest of the day. Now, another critical component is fiber. Fiber feeds beneficial gut bacteria, slows glucose absorption, improves satiety, and supports detoxification pathways through the digestive system. And your gut microbiome plays a major role in inflammation and metabolic health. What the research shows is that certain gut bacteria may influence insulin sensitivity, appetite regulation, immune signaling, and even fat storage patterns. This is why colorful plant foods matter so much. Berries, leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, beans, herbs, green tea. These foods contain polyphenols, natural compounds that help reduce oxidative stress and support cellular defense systems. Some polyphenols may even activate pathways associated with longevity and mitochondrial protection. For example, compounds found in green tea, extra virgin olive oil, turmeric, cocoa, and berries have been studied for their effects on inflammation and metabolic resilience. Now, here's another major mistake people make. They fear healthy fats. But biologically, healthy fats are essential for hormone production, brain health, and satiety. The key is choosing the right types of fats. Foods like avocados, olive oil, wild fish, nuts, seeds provide anti-inflammatory fats that help stabilize energy and reduce excessive hunger. Meanwhile, ultra-processed seed oils and trans fats may contribute to oxidative stress and inflammatory signaling when consumed excessively. Again, context matters. The goal is not obsession. The goal is improving the quality of biological signals entering the body every day. And one of the most overlooked metabolic tools is meal timing. Late-night eating is particularly disruptive because it conflicts with circadian biology. Your body handles glucose differently at night compared to earlier in the day. Insulin sensitivity naturally declines later in the evening. So when people eat heavy meals close to bedtime, the body is often less efficient at processing those nutrients. This can impair sleep quality, increase overnight glucose levels, and reduce overnight fat oxidation. A simple strategy many people benefit from is finishing dinner at least 3 hours before sleep. That single adjustment may improve sleep quality, blood sugar stability, digestion, overnight recovery, morning energy. And speaking of sleep, sleep is one of the most powerful fat-burning and regenerative tools we have. Because during deep sleep, the body increases repair hormones, regulates appetite hormones like leptin and ghrelin, supports memory consolidation, and performs critical neurological cleanup processes. Poor sleep increases cortisol. Elevated cortisol increases insulin resistance. And insulin resistance makes fat loss harder. You can already start seeing how connected these systems are. Nothing in the body works in isolation. Hormones influence sleep. Sleep influences hunger. Hunger influences insulin. Insulin influences fat storage. Fat storage influences inflammation. Inflammation influences stem cell activity. Everything is connected. And this is why sustainable health is never about one magic food or one perfect diet. It's about creating an internal environment where the body can finally function the way it was biologically designed to function. Now let's talk about one of the most underestimated tools for activating fat burning and regenerative signaling. Movement. Not punishment-based exercise. Not spending 2 exhausting hours in the gym. Just intelligent movement that works with human biology instead of against it. Because here's what's really going on inside your body. Your muscles are not just for strength or appearance. Skeletal muscle is one of the most powerful metabolic organs in the human body. In fact, muscle tissue directly influences blood sugar regulation, insulin sensitivity, mitochondrial function, inflammation, hormonal balance, longevity pathways. And this is why inactivity becomes so dangerous metabolically. When muscles remain inactive for long periods, the body becomes less efficient at clearing glucose from the bloodstream. Over time, insulin levels rise, inflammation increases, energy production becomes less efficient, and stubborn fat becomes harder to access. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your muscles are like giant rechargeable batteries. When you use them regularly, they absorb fuel efficiently and create energy. But when they sit unused for too long, the entire metabolic system becomes sluggish, almost like a battery slowly corroding over time. This is one reason modern sedentary lifestyles create so many metabolic problems even in people who exercise occasionally. One intense workout cannot fully compensate for sitting 10 to 12 hours per day. The body was designed for frequent low-level movement, walking, stretching, carrying, standing, climbing, natural physical activity. And interestingly, some of the strongest metabolic benefits come from very simple forms of movement. For example, walking after meals can dramatically improve glucose disposal. Why? Because contracting muscles pull glucose out of the bloodstream even with lower insulin requirements. Muscle contraction, glucose, uptake, insulin untext, muscle contraction, right arrow, hoop arrow, glucosage, uptake, right arrow, down arrow, insulin, muscle contraction, glucose, uptake, insulin. That's incredibly important for metabolic repair. In many cases, a 10-minute walk after meals may improve blood sugar regulation more effectively than people realize. Now, resistance training is another powerful tool because muscle itself acts almost like an anti-aging organ. As we age, we naturally lose muscle mass, a process called sarcopenia, and loss of muscle strongly correlates with reduced metabolic flexibility, higher insulin resistance, frailty, lower energy, increased risk of chronic disease. This is why preserving muscle is not about vanity. It's about survival and longevity. What the research shows is that resistance training improves insulin sensitivity, mitochondrial density, and growth factor signaling associated with tissue repair and healthy aging. And importantly, you do not need extreme workouts. Consistency matters far more than intensity. Simple protocols can be incredibly effective. Body weight exercises, resistance bands, dumbbells, squats, push movements, pull movements, walking daily. The goal is sending your body the message, we still need this muscle, because the body adapts to demand. Now, another fascinating area of research involves exercise-induced molecules called myokines. These are signaling compounds released by muscles during movement. And some myokines appear to reduce inflammation while supporting brain health, fat metabolism, and cellular resilience. So movement is not just burning calories. Movement changes communication inside the body. That's a completely different way of thinking about exercise. Now let's connect this back to stem cells. Physical activity may help stimulate stem cell mobilization and improve circulation, which enhances nutrient delivery and tissue repair. Even moderate aerobic activity has been associated with improved regenerative signaling and healthier aging patterns. And here's where many people sabotage themselves. They rely on intense exercise while ignoring recovery. But regeneration requires recovery. Remember, the body grows stronger during recovery periods, not during the stress itself. This is why sleep, hydration, minerals, protein intake, and stress management matter so much. Without recovery, cortisol stays elevated. And chronically elevated cortisol can impair fat loss, increase cravings, disrupt sleep, and reduce muscle recovery. This is why chronic overtraining often backfires. More stress is not always better. Better adaptation is better. One simple framework I often recommend is this. Walk daily. Strength train consistently. Prioritize recovery aggressively. Sleep deeply. Eat nutrient-dense foods. Keep inflammation low. That combination creates a biological environment where the body becomes far more efficient at burning stored fat, stabilizing energy, supporting stem cell activity, preserving muscle, protecting the brain, improving long-term metabolic health. And this is where people begin experiencing something remarkable. Their body stops fighting them. Hunger stabilizes. Energy improves. Sleep deepens. Mental clarity increases. Fat loss becomes more sustainable. Not because they found a miracle shortcut, but because they finally aligned their lifestyle with human physiology. If this is adding value so far, consider subscribing, because understanding the science behind metabolism gives you tools that are far more powerful than temporary diet trends. So after everything we've discussed today, here's the most important takeaway. Your body is not broken. In many cases, it's simply overwhelmed by constant metabolic noise. Constant eating, constant stress, constant insulin spikes, poor sleep, inflammation, lack of movement, nutrient deficiencies, circadian disruption. And over time, those signals push the body away from repair mode and deeper into storage mode, fatigue mode, and survival mode. But the encouraging news is this. The body is incredibly adaptive. The moment you begin changing the signals, the biology begins responding. And that's what today's conversation was really about. Not chasing perfection, not extreme dieting, not punishing workouts, but understanding how to work with your physiology instead of against it. Because here's what's really happening underneath the surface. When insulin stabilizes, the body accesses stored energy more efficiently. When inflammation decreases, stem cell signaling and tissue repair improve. When muscles become active, glucose handling improves. When sleep deepens, hormones rebalance. When fasting windows create recovery time, autophagy and metabolic flexibility increase. Everything is connected. And once you understand these systems, health stops feeling random. You begin realizing that your daily habits are either activating repair pathways or interfering with them. Let me explain this with one final analogy. Think of your body like an incredibly advanced self-repairing machine. If the environment is chaotic, poor fuel, constant stress, no downtime, no recovery, the system becomes inefficient. But when you provide better nutrients, better recovery, better sleep, better movement, better timing, the machine begins restoring itself naturally. That's not hype, that's physiology. And importantly, this does not require doing everything perfectly tomorrow morning. In fact, one of the fastest ways people fail is trying to overhaul their entire life overnight. Instead, focus on one signal at a time. Maybe today it's finishing dinner earlier, taking a walk after meals, increasing protein intake, sleeping 30 minutes earlier, reducing sugary drinks, trying a 12-hour fasting window. Small actions repeated consistently create powerful biological momentum. And remember, the goal is not simply losing weight. The real goal is improving metabolic health. Because when metabolism improves, many other things often improve alongside it. Energy, focus, mood, sleep, hormonal balance, fat burning, long-term resilience, healthy aging. That's why this matters far beyond appearance. This is about protecting the brain, protecting the heart, protecting muscle, protecting quality of life as you age. Now I want to leave you with a simple challenge. Try just one of these changes for one day. Not forever. Not perfectly. Just one intentional day. Give your body a small window of recovery. Track your hunger. Track your sleep. Track your energy. Because the more you understand your biology, the more empowered you become to heal, perform, and age well naturally. And that may be one of the most powerful forms of medicine we have.